The moment changed my life forever. It happened on an ordinary sunny afternoon, in a small apartment that overlooked a busy city street. I wasn't supposed to be looking. I wasn't trying to invade anyone's privacy. It was one of those awkward accidents that happen in a split second and leave you embarrassed for weeks. I looked up, our eyes met, and instead of anger or discomfort, my roommate smiled softly and said something that completely caught me off guard. "You can be bolder." At that moment, I thought she was teasing me. I had no idea she was actually talking about something much deeper. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to Storyverse. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the people who change our lives arrive when we least expect them. My name is Rowan Mercer, and for most of my life, I was afraid of everything. I wasn't afraid of heights or darkness. I was afraid of people. I was afraid of speaking my mind. I was afraid of rejection, failure, embarrassment, and disappointment. Every decision I made was carefully measured to avoid risk. Growing up, I learned that keeping quiet was safer than standing out. My father left when I was young, and my mother worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. She loved me deeply, but life had made her cautious. She taught me to stay out of trouble, avoid conflict, and never expect too much from people. By the time I reached my 20s, caution had become my entire personality. I worked as a junior graphic designer at a small marketing company. I had talent, but I rarely shared my ideas. During meetings, I would sit silently while louder coworkers received praise for concepts that weren't even as strong as mine. Every evening I returned to a modest apartment that I shared with another tenant. Her name was Talia Voss. Talia was everything I wasn't. She walked into rooms with confidence. She spoke honestly. She laughed loudly. She greeted strangers like old friends. While I spent hours worrying about what people thought, she seemed completely comfortable being herself. When she first moved in, I assumed we'd barely interact. I was wrong. Over time, she slowly pulled me out of my shell. She would leave encouraging notes on the refrigerator before important presentations. She would ask about my day and actually listen to the answer. She celebrated my small victories as if they were major achievements. Yet despite living together for almost a year, there was still a distance between us. Not because she created it. Because I did. I admired her more than I wanted to admit. And that terrified me. One bright Saturday afternoon, sunlight streamed through the apartment windows. I had just returned from a frustrating meeting at work. My manager had asked for creative suggestions, and once again I had remained silent. Later, another employee presented an idea remarkably similar to one I'd been carrying around in my notebook for months. The promotion I'd hoped for went to him. I was angry at myself. As I entered the apartment, my mind was elsewhere. I turned toward the hallway and accidentally glanced into a partially open doorway. For a brief second, I saw Talia changing into a different outfit before heading out to meet friends. I immediately looked away. My face burned with embarrassment. I started apologizing before she even said anything. But instead of being upset, she laughed gently. Then came the words that would stay with me forever. "You can be bolder." At first, I assumed she was making a joke about my awkward reaction. But later that evening, she found me sitting alone on the balcony. The city glowed beneath the setting sun. She sat beside me and explained. She wasn't talking about that moment. She was talking about my entire life. She told me she had watched me hide my talents for months. She had seen me dismiss my accomplishments, avoid opportunities, and shrink whenever attention came my way. She said something I desperately needed to hear. She told me that fear wasn't protecting me anymore. It was imprisoning me. Those words followed me everywhere. The following week, I found myself staring at a blank presentation slide at work. Normally, I would have kept my thoughts to myself. Instead, I remembered Talia's voice. Be bolder. When my manager asked for ideas, my heart pounded. My hands shook. But for the first time, I spoke. The room fell silent. Then people started asking questions. Not because my idea was foolish. Because it was good. Very good. The campaign eventually became one of the company's most successful projects that year. For the first time, I received recognition that matched my effort. But something even more important happened. I began to believe in myself. The change wasn't instant. Growth never is. Some days I still doubted myself. Some days fear returned stronger than ever. Whenever that happened, Talia somehow knew. She would remind me that courage wasn't the absence of fear. It was acting despite it. Months passed. Life improved in ways I never expected. I started accepting freelance projects. I joined networking events. I spoke to clients directly instead of hiding behind emails. The world didn't become less scary. I simply became stronger. Then everything changed again. One rainy afternoon, I returned home early. I found Talia sitting alone in the kitchen. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked defeated. The confident smile was gone. Her eyes were red. The woman who always seemed fearless suddenly looked fragile. I learned that her mother had been diagnosed with a serious illness. The medical expenses were overwhelming. Talia had been working extra shifts and secretly selling personal belongings to help cover costs. I was shocked. For an entire year, she had helped carry my burdens while hiding her own. Suddenly I understood something. Strength isn't about never struggling. It's about continuing despite the struggle. Over the following months, our roles reversed. I helped wherever I could. I cooked meals. I handled apartment expenses when she couldn't. I drove her to hospital visits. I listened when she needed someone to talk to. For once, I wasn't the person being rescued. I was the one doing the rescuing. And strangely enough, that made me stronger than ever. One evening, after a particularly difficult hospital appointment, we sat together in a quiet park beneath enormous oak trees. Children laughed nearby. Birds drifted across a golden afternoon sky. The world seemed peaceful despite everything. Talia looked exhausted. But she smiled. A genuine smile. She told me she was proud of me. Not because of my promotion. Not because of my growing career. But because I had finally stopped running from life. Her words hit harder than any professional achievement ever could. I realized then that success wasn't measured by money or titles. It was measured by who you became along the way. The following year brought more challenges. There were setbacks with her mother's health. There were financial pressures. There were moments when both of us felt completely overwhelmed. But we faced them together. The apartment that once felt like a temporary arrangement slowly became a home. The friendship that started as simple coexistence became something deeper. Something built on trust, respect, and shared hardship. One spring morning, nearly 2 years after that accidental glance in the hallway, I stood in front of hundreds of people at a major design conference. The old version of me would have fainted at the thought. Yet there I was, delivering a keynote presentation. My voice remained steady. My ideas were heard. My work inspired others. When the audience rose for a standing ovation, I searched the crowd. And there she was. Talia. Smiling. Just like she had that day. After the event ended, we walked through downtown streets filled with sunshine and blooming flowers. I thought about everything that had happened since we first became roommates. The fears. The failures. The growth. The friendship. The countless moments that had shaped us. I realized something remarkable. One small sentence had changed the direction of my life. Not because the words themselves were magical, but because someone had believed in me before I believed in myself. As years passed, life continued moving forward. Talia's mother gradually recovered. My career flourished. The future that once seemed impossible slowly became reality. Yet among all the accomplishments, one memory remained my favorite. Not the promotion. Not the conference. Not the awards. Just a sunny afternoon in a small apartment. An embarrassing accident. A smile. And a simple piece of advice. Be bolder. If you're still watching, please leave a comment and tell us, has someone ever believed in you before you believed in yourself? The truth is that many people spend their lives waiting for confidence to arrive before taking action. But confidence rarely comes first. Courage comes first. The willingness to take one small step despite uncertainty comes first. And sometimes all it takes is one person who sees something special in you. Someone who reminds you that you're capable of more than you think. As for me, I eventually learned that life rewards those who dare to participate in it. Not perfectly. Not fearlessly. Just honestly. The greatest lesson Talia ever taught me wasn't about romance, success, or ambition. It was about possibility. She taught me that the walls we build around ourselves often become the biggest obstacles we'll ever face. And she taught me that kindness has a way of changing destinies. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to Storyverse so more people can discover stories that inspire hope, courage, and second chances. The brightest chapters of our lives often begin with the smallest moments. A smile. A kind word. A helping hand. Or a reminder that we are stronger than we believe. And sometimes, those moments arrive when we least expect them. That is exactly how my story began. And it changed everything. I hope this fits the emotional, cinematic YouTube style you wanted.